So what happens when you have you do the exact same thing that we just talked about. You're going to write two different cases. So you're going to write the positive case, and then you have to write the negative case. Now when I write this negative answer over here, I have to switch that symbol to the other direction. Do you guys remember that from Algebra 1? Vaguely.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we solve this exactly the same way. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I get x is greater than 14. And then I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And so x is less than negative 6. And then if I make my number line, I'm going to put an open circle on it.
I remember that.
For because it's not equal to, right? So that's going to be negative 6. And then I'm going to put an open circle at 14. And then I'm just going to, the way that I do it, so I know which way the arrows go, I just ask myself, what is a number that's true for? What number is bigger than 14? Just give me 15. So that means that the arrow points that direction because that's the direction 15 is. What number is less than negative 6? Just give me one.
Negative 5. Oh wait, no.
Negative 7.
Negative 7.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So that arrow points that way. This is called discontinuity. So that's why there's an or in front of it. Because the arrows are going opposite directions. Do you guys remember that from math class?
Yeah, and then we had to like highlight a certain side.
Yeah, we did like.
Okay, so I'm going to teach you a couple more things that you're going to learn in Algebra 2. I'm going to teach you about interval notation too. Okay, so because they're not connected, you know that there's an or. So I have to write this interval. I'll do it in a different color. So I have to write this interval from there to there, and I have to write that interval from there to there. So before you would write it in math class, you would write it this way with the x's and stuff, right? When you're trying to write a set of numbers, you're going to say that all of your x values are between, what is the biggest negative value? Do you know that number that you can possibly have? What the biggest one is? This is negative infinity way out here, right? What's the biggest positive value that you can have?
Just infinity.
Just infinity. So I'm going to write an interval showing both of those. So this is negative infinity to 6, negative 6. I put parentheses because it's not exactly equal to that number. It's just going to it, okay? If this was equals to, then that would be filled in, and then this would be a bracket. And we'll do some that look like that. And then I'm going to do this one. So you do in union with. Do you guys remember that symbol?
Yeah.
He's like, no. Yeah.
Not really.
Okay. So whenever you have two different things and you have to say that both of them are the right answer, you put a symbol there that's a big U, and that means union. That means it's part of both of those answers. Either one of those answers will give you the right answer. So then this would be 14, comma, infinity. And then both of those are parentheses too because it's not exactly equal to. All right, so on your boards, I think you got to flip yours over.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the side that needs to be cleaned
Okay.
off. Sorry, dude. I'm going to give you one to do. Just an easy one. Yeah, you got the glossy side. You're good. I don't know what the sticky stuff is. It's coming off though. into my bag. I got some board cleaner in there. Alright, so try this one.
What'd you just do? First.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you draw on like the number lines?
Yeah, draw the number line stuff for me too.
Oh, it's an open circle, right?
Yep. Okay. This always stays exactly the same. Do not change the sign there. The sign that gets changed is that one. And you already flipped the sign, so you don't even have to write the absolute value bars anymore. Right. Okay, so go ahead and put your number line in, and then draw it for me.
So all the numbers less than 18 and greater than -6.
Say that out loud to me.
X is greater than 18.
Process that. X is greater than 18. There you go. Right. Okay, now I want you to write in an interval notation. Don't erase yet. What number is way out here?
Oh, infinity.
Negative.
Negative infinity.
Mm-hmm.
Or wait, how do you do that?
It's an 8 on the side.
Okay.
So it would be negative infinity to -12.
It would be, well, you got a
Or
6 here, right?
-6. Okay.
So it's negative infinity to -6. What symbol goes in between?
Uh,
Oh, the union.
The union. You always put the smaller number first, by the way, when you write your interval.
So both these are.
So you have it right there.
But
that one's
oh
right.
yeah, smaller.
Right. And you only have to put the union
for the negatives.
in between the two.
Oh.
So you see how I have it written?
Okay, so it's like 1.
It's 1, right. Okay. So let's try a couple of them that's on this sheet now. Oh, I gotta show you something else. So you don't fall for this trap. Because your math teacher might not even explain this to you. We know how that works. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud. So I'm gonna put this online. What if you had I'm gonna leave it that way.
So would you just work it, like, subtract 5, then add a -4, -9?
Okay. This is like the very first thing that we talked about today. What kind of number do I always get out of an absolute value?
A positive.
A positive number, no matter what, right?
Oh, would you just change the 4 then, or something?
Well, you can't even do that.
You change the sign, right?
Can't even do that. If that's a positive number, is a positive number ever less than a negative number? Nope. So this is the answer. It means empty set or null, depending on what your teacher says. So that, or they'll say no solution. That's another way of saying that. So always be careful once you get the absolute value by itself, whether that number is positive or negative.
So if the 5 is negative, could you?
Still couldn't do it. This number that's on the other side of the absolute value has to be a positive number.
So if it's negative, it's always no solution.
Well, let me ask you this.
Still work, like
'Cause
5
that's
is greater
greater.
than negative 4.
So what would the answer for this be? Instead of no solution, it's going to be
All
what?
solution.
It's going to be all solutions or all real numbers. And that's the symbol for all reals. If you were writing all reals in interval notation, this would be your answer. Because isn't that all the real numbers? From negative infinity to positive infinity. So that's actually how you write that.
So every time it's a negative, it's going to be one of those two.
It's going to be one of those two answers.
Okay.
So just be careful of that because these can get really complicated. So you have to do the math and get the absolute value all the way by itself first before you make a determination. Okay, so I think you guys are smart enough that there's some of these things that I can actually skip because they're going to be too easy. I'll do an easy one first. So that's your first one. Do number 1.
If you subtract it equals 0, right?
Okay, I'll do this one. But yeah, that's one of the answers. Whenever you're doing an absolute value, you always have to write both cases first. So here's the first case,
I forgot about that.
and then here's the second case. This is the positive one, that's the negative one. These two things are exactly the same. The only thing that changed was my answer. I made that answer negative. And now I'm going to solve them just like I solve any math equation. So this one is A is equal to 0. You already got that one, right? And then this one, you get negative 16 is equal to negative 6A. And so A is equal to negative 16 over 6. And then you reduce that, so that's 8 over 3. And so my solution set and you're going to see all this notation in your class. So this is 0, and then this is 8. And so that means that the set of all x's such that x equals 0, comma 8, or 8 thirds, because those are the two answers. And that's actually how they're going to want you to write it too, if it's not interval notation. The reason we write it in, this is called set notation, is because I have two set answers, right? I don't have a whole range of answers. I just have two numbers. So that's how you write it. And all this is just like math speak, but they're going to expect you to know it. That's why I'm going over it. Okay, so I want you to do, now that you know that you have to write two different cases, do number 3 for me.
can just put the 2 in before, right?
Yeah, you can just put the 2 in before if you're more comfortable doing that. Yep, you can switch the 2.
So do you have to do the number line, or do you have to do the like equation?
I want you to do the number line and set notation. I want you to do both because I want you to get used to both. Is it open or closed circle?
It's open.
Is it equal to?
No. So
What's it saying?
it is equal to.
So if it's equal to, then what you do here on your number line?
So close.
It's closed circle. So fill it in.
What are the 2 numbers? Did you get 9 and 0?
Got negative 9 and 0, right?
Yeah.
You got a negative
yeah.
symbol there. Okay, go ahead and do a number line for me. Okay, can you write in set notation again? I'll write it up again, just so you see it. Because I know it's probably the first time you've seen it. So this was the original. So we got negative 9, right? You guys both got those answers. And then I'm going to write A such that the value of A is equal to 0. These are colons. Is equal to 0 or negative 9. And then I put it in brackets on the outside.
So it's brackets and then.
And then this.
But like it could be brackets or what was the other thing? It was just parentheses.
Parentheses. If I had parentheses, then that means that it would be a range of numbers. But because on my number line, it's just these 2 dots, right? There's not a range. It's just those 2 numbers. That's why you have to write it as a set.
If it was greater than or less than, it would
Then you would have the parentheses and stuff. Okay. I'm going to scroll down. All right, so I want you to do number 11.
So.
Okay, I'm going to work this one out with you because it's a little different.
Could you divide 5 with 30?
That's the first thing you're supposed to do before you even write the 2 different cases. That is the first thing you're supposed to do. So we had 5, negative 7, r minus 1. And this is 30. So the first thing I do is I divide 5 by both sides. And then I can write my 2 cases. And now I just solve each one of them. Did I do my math right?
I think 5 7 should be negative, right? Because you add 1 and then.
I'm adding 1 and then I'm divided by a negative number, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it makes it positive, right?
Yeah.
Okay, draw the number line for me. And now write the set notation.
You put X, would you put R for this?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, it should be R. Those should be R there. You're right. You guys both got it right now. Messed it up. All right, cool. All right. So go ahead and do 15 for me. Got it?
Yep.
Let me copy it. So I got it. I can copy it from you. You're not going to erase it. Is that 19? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think you do first?
Subtract the 2. with
Subtract the 2. Get the absolute value by itself.
Put a negative here for some reason.
Okay, here's the other thing that I didn't talk about, but I'm going to do it now because you guys both got the same answers. Sometimes you'll get what's called an erroneous solution. Have you guys heard that word before? Especially when you're dealing with absolute values. One of these numbers mathematically might work out, but when you actually stick it back in, it doesn't work. So you have to check it. And you check it actually using the original equation. So I'm going to take this -6 and I'm going to stick it in there. So I have the absolute value of 5 minus 2 times -6 plus 2. And I'm going to check to see if that's equal to 19. So what's -2 times -6?
12.
What's 12 plus 5?
17.
What's 17 plus 2?
19.
So that one checks. Now I'm going to check this one. So I have 5 minus 2 times 11, absolute value plus 2 equals 19. So what's -2 times 11?
Negative 22.
Plus 5?
27.
Negative 27.
Negative 27.
Negative 22 plus 5.
Oh, so 17.
17.
And then 19.
That's -17, right? And then I have to take the absolute value of that, which makes that 17, and then it makes 19, so that checks out. So I want you to get in the habit of actually checking your numbers because there will be questions, especially when it gets really funky with all the stuff on the outside, that you won't get the right answer. It'll mathematically work out, but when you stick it back in, it doesn't work out. So only one of the answers will actually be right. So let's do something a little harder. So 21. This is for me, by the way.
Yeah. It's kind of ran out by a split.
That's right. You get stuck? Where you get stuck? Did I do something wrong? Did I do my math wrong?
Mine just doesn't look like yours. I don't know what I did.
Okay. So did you subtract this 3 first?
From what?
From this side to move the 3.
No.
Because that's how I got that number. I did -3 here and I did -3 there, and that's how I got the 48.
Oh, I just added 3 and 2. And made it. Oh, yeah, now I see what I did.
You see it?
Yeah.
I divided instead of subtracted the 5. So
Yeah, see, you did 5 too, though.
What?
Was there? Oh, you added the 2 and the 3,
That's
and
what I
then okay. No, you gotta when each one of these things has a term, right? So you have to keep all that stuff separated. So you can't add those 2 because what's order of operations say? What does PEMDAS say? If I was actually going to do this,
Parentheses.
and then multiplication before you do addition and subtraction, right? So I can't add. I got to do the reverse of PEMDAS. So I have to move this number first because I can't combine those 2 together because this is being multiplied by that, right? So go back and try it again. See if you can get my answers. Can't multiply that through either. We have to isolate the absolute value first. So isolate the absolute value first.
So you just get 6 plus 6 R.
Mm-hmm.
And times
2.
2 plus 3.
Okay, start over again. Erase. I want you to underline the number you're supposed to move first. It's always the furthest thing away from the variable. What's the furthest number away from? You got to move that one first. How do you move that one? What is this doing to that?
Addition.
So in order to move it, what do you have to do? In order to move it on this side of the
Subtract.
subtract it. So subtract it first.
And multiply the 2, right?
Well, put the absolute value there, and then write the 2 on the outside. Now, how do I move the 2?
Would you subtract it off?
What is the 2 doing to this parentheses or this absolute value?
Multiplication.
So how do you move it if you're going to if you're
You multiply the whole thing.
you can't do that.
Oh,
You can't do it inside. So if this is multiplication, in order to move it, you have to do the exact opposite.
Divide.
So you divide both sides by 2. And put that back in the absolute value. Now you've gotten it simplified enough to write your 2 cases. So write your 2 cases from there. Right. Okay, so we both all got the same answers now, right? Plug them in and make sure they both work. Check them.
You just plug it into the
Mm-hmm.
afferent. Would you plug it into this equation?
You plug it into the original equation, both of them into the original, separately.
So,
With the absolute value bars too. Right.
and then
What's 2 times 24?
so 48, and then
48 plus 3 is,
51.
so that one works. What about the other one? Does -5 work? -30. -30.
Times. Wait,
-30
yeah.
plus 6 is,
Is negative 24.
and the absolute value of -24 is,
48. Negative 48.
well, the absolute value of -24 is,
48.
it's 48 when you multiply by 2, right? And then you add 2 to it, you get a 3 to it, you get.
51.
So both of them work. So when you're actually doing your check, you're actually going to use the absolute value to make sure you get the right answer. And I know when they teach it in school, a lot of kids don't get that point because I have to go over it over and over again. That's why I'm going over it now. So you get rid of the absolute values when you're actually writing your two cases, and then you actually use the absolute value when you're checking your two cases. Get that?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to give you another one. Oops. 29.
You can just subtract this, right?
Yep.
You can't simplify that, right?
Oh, I see what you did. You did your first step right, but you forgot about the 8 that's on the outside here. So put sorry, the absolute value on that, and then move the 8 over. Sorry. So write absolute value and then 8 there, and then erase this bottom part right here. Erase the 7s too. And then how do you move the 8?
You divide.
You divide.
3, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then it's
Did you check them?
Oh, no. Would you subtract -7 from that?
Yes. Wait, okay, so I'm sticking in -1 here, right?
Yeah.
What's -1 times 10?
Oh, so 10.
And that's why I said if you're going to subtract it, yeah, you should subtract it. You get -3. You should get +3 there, right?
for this one. I got -10 in.
Divided by 10. So divide by -10 both sides. And then what do you get for x?
-1.
-1.
And then
And there should be an x
Right.
next to that 10, right?
it's -2/5.
You got +2/5, right?
I got positive, and then this was negative.
Okay, so when you do this
Oh.
over here, what happens to that 4? You actually did that one right. So you did this.
Okay.
You did this side right, and then you did that side right.
Yeah, so +4,
Over -10, which would make this what?
negative.
Negative. Did you check the fraction to see if it works?
Not yet.
Wait, so should this be positive?
No, that one's right. This one was you were off. You had a sign mistake with the 4. So now this one's negative.
Yeah, so they're both negative.
They're both negative.
Oh, okay. I thought it had to be positive.
You don't have to get a positive answer
Okay.
because when you stick this in, the absolute value is going to take care of it. So the thing that you can't have is the absolute value be equal to a negative number. So once you get the absolute value all by itself, it can't be a negative number, or there's no solution. I want to see if any of these are no solution. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like they did that to you.
The -1 works out.
Okay, how do you multiply a whole
Oh,
number
yeah.
by a fraction?
So it's 20 divided by -5, right?
It's 20 divided by -5. You can do it that way.
So -4.
-4 minus or plus -7 is.
Oh.
Actually, this is going to be negative. That's negative. You got don't forget your negative sign there.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So -10 times that is actually just 4. So what's -7 plus 4?
-3.
And the natural value of -3 is?
3.
So what's 3 times 8?
24.
What's 24 plus 6 is?
30.
That one works. Alright. Let me give you guys some inequality ones to do before we get out of here, because we only got like 10 minutes left. I'm not going to do an easy one, because that's just... So... Alright, do 37. Good.
And you make it a
-2? Mm-hmm. Number line?
For greater than, it's greater than and equal to, right?
Uh-huh.
Isn't it? Oh no, it's just circle, right? The open one.
Is it filled or not filled when it's equal to?
It's filled.
It's filled. So if the two lines touch, then what are you supposed to do to the two things? It becomes a barbell, right?
Oh, a straight line.
Right? That's when your teacher's having you fill it in, right? Okay, write it in interval notation for me then. Not set, because now it's an interval. Because it's all of those numbers between 7 and 11 including.
So it's not
Oh,
infinity
yeah.
then.
Okay. So
Mm-mm.
no, it's not that. It's
Not even that. Okay, so I'll do it for you.
Is it like this? Or something like that?
It's like this. That is the answer. I used brackets there because it's equal to. And so it's all the numbers between the two. So that's just how you write the answer. That is the answer for all the values of k. So when they touch, that's called conjunction, or the word you can use is and, because both of those. So you could write, this is the way you would write this in terms of like algebra 2. You would put the k in the middle, and then you put 7 there, and then you put 11 there. Do you guys remember seeing that?
Yeah.
So this would be how you would write that in set notation, because those are all the values of k. So you write all the values of k such that k is equal to between those two numbers. That's how you say between. And then if you're going to write it in interval notation, that means the exact same thing. All right, let's do two more. I'm going to gradually make them harder. So I want you to do 51. Same rules apply even though you have a greater than symbol there. Write your two cases. That's your positive case, right? Your negative case. Right.
You can divide that, right?
Divide by 7. Mm-hmm.
So then it's just.
Right. When you divide by a negative number, what happens to the greater than or equal to sign? What are you supposed to do when you divide by a negative number?
Flips.
You flip it. Did you flip yours?
So you flip it twice in this.
Well,
Like you started out.
You started out like that, and then you have to flip it again.
Okay.
Yep.
it's on this, but it starts off, so you just flip the other way then.
You flip it the other way. So that's all you got to do is just flip yours.
So it equals 1/2.
Mm-hmm.
So this one you already flipped it, so you just flip
But you're going to have to flip it again
Okay.
anyway. So you might have to flip something twice.
So is it k is less than 1/2?
So
It's
basically,
k is less than 1/2.
Okay.
That's one of the
this
answers.
sign is basically saying like the original way then.
Right. But it'll happen when you actually do the math, right? So right? Right. All right, now draw then, and that's right. Yours is right.
Is that just it?
That's just it. Just well, this is saying that k is less than. This is saying that k is less than 1/2, and k is greater than 1. So you can't write the interval that way. What's the smallest number over here? Because the arrow's pointing that direction, right?
Negative infinity.
Negative infinity to what number?
1/2.
In union with, because you have a break.
1 and infinity.
So write it that way. And it's in two separate parentheses.
So where would you put the?
So if I'm going to write your answer, I'm going to say from negative infinity to 1/2 in union with 1 to infinity. See it? So there's two separate parentheses there.
With the union in between.
With the union in between. All right, one more. Your homework is to do 3 of every 10 evens. So, because I set it up so they progressively get harder. And I'm going to email you guys, once you text me your email address, I'm going to email your homework. So you notice I've been sticking to the odds, right? So I just want you to do, so it's not going to take you very long to do your homework at all, especially if you spread it over a couple of days. So I don't care what 3, but so out of the 5, pick 3 of them. That's what I'm saying. So you're going to do 3 from this set of 5, and then 3 from that set of 5, and so on. So you can skip 2 of them. That's what I'm basically saying, every 10.
Okay. Wait, out of every so those 10
So
sides.
from 2 to 10, right? Because we already did the odds,
okay.
evens.
Okay, I got
So I want you to do 3 of those 5, and you can pick which ones they are. And I set it up so they progressively get harder as you go down until you get to a new section, and then those are easy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's only one step. and then print it out, write your answers down, and then I'll check them when I see you guys next. But let me give you one of the harder odd ones to do. Okay, so try 81. This is called a combination inequality.
So would you have to do like the odd and even for both of them? So like 4 different.
Is there an absolute value there? That's why I'm going over it, because I want to get you out of that train of thought. Do you see an absolute value there?
No.
So you just solved that one,
Yep.
and then you just solved that one, and then you graph it, and you see if it's an and or an or.
Okay.
You have to flip it if it's.
Did you divide by a negative number?
No.
Then you
So
don't flip it.
keep
So
that.
just keep it there.
Are we doing it next week or the week after? How are we doing it?
Aren't you? Yeah, we're doing it weekly.
Okay.
But aren't one of you guys gone, or did you guys already do all your vacation stuff?
We just got back, but he's got volleyball from 1 to 3 all next week, right? Is that what you said?
Depends on which ones we're going to.
We'll need to know because you can't schedule anything until we
Yeah.
know.
I mean, it's just open gym. It just
But
depends
it's the
on.
week before tryouts, just so you know.
It's just one day out of the 5.
Okay. All right. So
I can switch my times with you so you don't have to miss. If you think that's going to, it doesn't matter. Okay, if you say it's your life, man.
Yeah.
So it's an and, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is Monday at 1 a good again next week?
It works for me. I'll be here at like 1:10 because I'm coming from Hanover, so
Yeah,
the
that's
traffic is kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. Let me just make sure I don't have anything on my calendar for that Monday. I don't think I do.
Matt, does that work for you too?
Yes, I don't have anything. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have anything.
When do you start 2-a-days? Or do you guys not?
For what?
Don't you have lacrosse now? No.
No, the
Public-
process.
Public school isn't.
Our season just ended.
Okay.
It was in the spring.
I guess it is soccer, right? Isn't it soccer in the fall and lacrosse in the
Soccer's
spring?
in the spring too.
Really?
For
public school?
private's different.
Yeah.
Private soccer's the fall.
So what happens? Oh, soccer and lacrosse are both in the springtime
For public schools.
for public school. Because I was like, a lot of my football guys play lacrosse, but I guess you could still do
Yeah, they're
that.
different seasons.
Yeah, you can still do that. All right. It's going to be up to y'all. I need to have you, and you guys need to text me your email so I can send you your homework. And remember, it's 3 out of the 5 each set.
Okay.
And take your time. Do a little bit each day. Do not try to cram it in like 12 o'clock before I see you, because it's only literally an hour's worth of work, like for the whole week. But I want you guys to do a little bit out of it at a time so it stays fresh in your head.
Do you have his phone number? John's
I
phone?
don't have John's
Oh.
I have it.
Well, like,
I have it.
my
I didn't
mom
have
never
it.
sent it.
Okay. Oh, let me save this. This is your first set of homework. You guys have any questions before I get out of here?
All good?
Yep.
So you trying to email them that stuff right now?
No, I'll do it when I get home.
Okay.
I just need them to text me their email addresses, or you could just
I'll do it.
email them to me, and then because I don't want to have to go through you guys every single time.
Yeah. I want to respond to your email you sent earlier this morning.
Okay.
Brett, what's your Gmail account with address? Do you know?
Yeah.
What is it?
rstars@gmail.com.
rstars?
Yeah.
@gmail.com.
GE. It's not just G.
Did that not say?
GE.